Today I was supposed to do a brake pipe on my 130, but it's all covered in snow, it's in the shop drying out. So I thought we'll jump on and have a look at this gearbox here. This is a Series 2A out of the 6-cylinder 109. Now, before we start, you've noticed I steam cleaned it all off and got all the dirt. But you know, don't work on dirty stuff, get it all cleaned off the best you can. And then you've got no chance of contaminants going inside the box, making even more work. The next thing, you need to get yourself some of these things here. Now these are actually drawer organisers from the dollar shop. They were only $3, I've got loads of them. They're handy for putting all your bits and pieces in. Next, you want to get yourself a set of metric and inch spanners and throw them away, because you need to get your dad's old toolbox out and get yourself some Whitworth spanners, because there's no inch bolts on these at all. These are all old-fashioned types of bolts, alright? People do struggle trying to get nuts and bolts off these with inch and metric. It don't work. Get it done right. So an invaluable set you can buy is a set of Whitworth sockets. Now, why Whitworth? Well, Whitworth was the original coarse-threaded bolt. Goes back to when Noah was building his ark. The fine-threaded bolt was BSF. Now some things get really confusing. Let's see if I can find it. The way that they were named was like this one was 5/16 BS or 9/16 Whitworth. They made it a lot easier with AF, but we need them. You know, when we want to take off. Let's see. You know, that's a nice snug fit. You know, oh, you missed it, didn't you? See, that's a nice snug fit on these bolts, you see. Lovely that. Whereas you try and get a 9/16 on, well, it's not too big, or a metric, or this, that and the other. So before you start, get the right tools. That's what I'm trying to say. This has been drained of oil, and it has problems with the main shaft at the back. So one of the things we've got to do, first of all, watching, attention. We need to take the handbrake off, because we've got to get this pin out of here, and then we're going to flip the box upside down and take the cover off underneath, because there's some bolts on the inside. Now the Defenders had bolts on this side, which is a lot better, but this has a ring of bolts on the inside that we've got to get off. So first of all, Michelle's already got the split pin out of here, so we're going to get a socket. Not that one. That one. I'm going to grab all the air gun and spin it off with the air gun. Once you've got the nut off, you might be lucky enough the drum will pull off. Oh, that was a stroke of luck, wasn't it? You can see it's oily and crappy inside. We're going to clean all that up. The shoes are gummy. What used to happen with these is that they used to get a lot of play on this shaft. There are two taper bearings in here holding this shaft, and there's shims behind here which we will see later. And this shaft had a habit of, when the bearings got a little bit worn, this shaft with the great massive, you know, the great massive weight on here used to flare around all over the place. Well, the poor old oil seal couldn't catch up. But I'll try and show you a trick that we used to do when I was a boy, how to stop those leaking. So the next thing we're going to do, we've already got the handbrake disconnected. We're going to get, what's that one there? I've never done one of these for years, so if I make a mess of it, let me know. That is a 5/16 Whitworth. I'm going to put the sockets back on so we don't lose them, because it's the only set I've got. Now, air guns are very good for actually stripping things down, but not so good for putting things back together again. Right. Now those are off, but we haven't finished yet. There are spring washers on these here. Let's pull this a bit further forward. There we go. Now, there we go. The spring washers are kind of worth holding on to because they are actually thinner than regular spring washers you can buy at the local hardware shop. So we'll keep as many parts as we can. There we go. And then that can come off. Now, of course, you can see this is typical. We always see that. Now that's out the way, we can take this mucky old gasket off. We can see when they've put the overdrive on, they actually use two gaskets and just put one on top of the other. I don't know why that would. You put that in the bin. Next thing, we should take that bolt off there because I think that's the same size. There we go. There we go. Now don't be surprised if you get a lot of this. The nut comes off with the stud. The reason for that is that the resistance of the threads is less on the aluminium than the rust here. So we're going to free them off and clean them. We'll clean them all up in the sandblaster and put them back on again. The next thing, we're going to take the pan off the bottom. Do I need to take that top cover off? Well, might as well take it off while we're here. Oh. Got the hose caught up. Oh, this is always annoying. Again, keep your nuts and bolts separate. You'll be able to work it out later. See, a lot of these old gearboxes were all gaskets and things like that, where the modern gearboxes are not. Now, this is the time to show you my tool. So this is where I came up with the idea many years ago of these scrapers, these dismantling tools that I do on my shop at the end of the video. This is one of the originals. I keep losing them and then finding them again. But they're absolutely superb at getting covers like this off without damaging the aluminium. See? No problem. Right, well, now I keep a magnet. These are old speakers. If you've got any old speakers, just whack them on there, break them up, put them on your side of your bench. They're great for putting your bits and pieces on. Right, now, so that's done. What else have we got to do? I think we've got to take the pan off. I don't know, I'm making it up as I go along. We're going to take the sump off the bottom. So the cover is only pressed steel. So what we're going to do is just pull the seams of these bolts out. Notice, I'm sort of trying to go diagonally, but I'm not, I'm holding back the socket cause I'm holding back the socket here because if you give them full bore like that, because they come out very easy, the damn things fly all over your workshop. You don't want that. So use your hand as a brake. And again, it's most important that we don't lose any of these nuts, because these are the things that you can't get at your local hardware shop, believe me. you will not be able to find, in North America at least, anything Whitworth at Napa. Well, you could try. That'd be a bit of fun, wouldn't it? Yeah, because like I say, look, nearly all the studs will come out at the aluminium and not here, so we need to put these through the blaster and give them a good clean up. And again, these need to be tightened down by hand when we put it back together again, not a gun. It's just too severe for them, but it's good for dismantling. Now there may be some water come out of this because the end cover was missing because of the overdrive. But again, I'm not bothered because it's going to go through the parts washer anyway. If we can help it, we're not going to touch the engine mount. Well, we're going to replace the engine mounts because the hidden strength. Look how rusty they are. They're rubbish. You know. So we've got to put new mountings on them. You can still get them. For some reason, the rear mountings were different to the back. I never quite worked that out why. Right, here we go. Got our tool. Yeah, oh, that didn't take much getting off. Ooh. 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 That doesn't look good. Now I'm going to film that. Can you see there? Look at that. Maybe you can see it now. Look at the sump plug. Yeah, I've got a scrapey thing here. Can you see this? Look at the metal in there. See? We've got a problem. Because that was on this, that was on the transfer case side, not in the gearbox where we know we've got a problem. So, we've got to strip it all down. Oh dear. Oh dear, dear. Now, what do we do next? Oh yeah, we've got to take this linkage. We've got to take the linkage off here. Got to take the linkage off. We only need to take it off by this nut and bolt here. It's a lock nut. So we can get a couple of spanners for that. If we've got in the right size, obviously not. This one here, that's the right size. I think this one is inch actually. Yeah, that one's inch, somebody's replaced it before. Get into the habit when you're taking nuts and bolts out to put them back through the place where they came from. Now, when you're stripping these levers down, before we put that back in, this is a common thing that people always forget. There's an anti-rattle spring in there, and then people lose this, wonder what that groove is for there. It's not for Madonna to get into, and lose that. So again, crucial part, put it in the box. Once we've salvaged that, we'll put the nut and bolt back through the hole. And that's another section out the way. Now, I do believe, I can't remember now how that bloody box comes out. Oh yeah, that's right. So we're going to have a look at all these gears and bits and pieces in here. But first of all, we need to get the intermediary gear out of here to get to the bolt to the back of the gearbox. So There's one there, but there's one hidden. I probably can't see, it's right behind here. Let me get this shaft out and see what we can do. That's why mechanics always have metal benches rather than wood, because they always moving steel around and big lumps like this is quite easy. There's a locking tab on here and it's got a kind of rusty damn, come on. See, these are the problems. These are the problems you'll have too. Moves one way but not the other. Ah, now she's going. There we go. Again, we're going to put all these through the sandblaster. There's a little locking tab in there, so that goes into there. Now, somehow we've got to get that shaft out of there. There is supposed to be a Land Rover tool to extract that. Guess what? We haven't got one. What are we going to do with that? Let me get me thinking head on a minute. Well, I made a complete balls up of that. I put some penetrating oil in it and I thought I'd try and pry it out with a crowfoot, and it snapped part of the tang off. So now we're really knackered because that is tight. See if we can turn it. Oh, bugger. That is seized in. Now, Land Rover in their infinite wisdom could have actually drilled and tapped a hole in there, and so you could put a slide hammer on. Except it's hardened, so we can't do that. So we've just got to sort of try and turn it somehow. Now she's going. We'll probably need a new shaft now. Well, some of them just come out, you know, but I mean, it's 50 years old, good to say. That is tight. That is really, really tight. I just wonder if it'll succumb a bit with a bit of heat. Like, there's an O-ring inside there, I've just burnt it off. Because aluminium dissipates heat very quickly, this could take quite a while. We'll come back in a minute. So, the heat worked. Now with your crowfoot, just give it a little pull, not too much because these are so brittle and they're so small They're so easy to break off like I did with that one. Tap it in, bring it out. There. It's out. Now sometimes you need to do a little trick like this to get another purchase. Yeah. Now, I might just weld that up so it holds the locking ring on. I don't think I've got much of a choice really, not unless we can find another one. As you could hear, the gear now has dropped out. There's the gear with the rollers in. You remember when I said about the oil, in the oil there was a bit of metal? Kaput! Now also in there should be some thrust washers. Thrusting. Those are the thrust washers. Take them out, don't lose them. There's one either end. If I remember rightly, these were selective, I'm not sure. Right. Let's stick this. Big of a job. I'm only doing this for you, again. Now, come here. Don't walk away. Can you see in here? One, two, three. There, you can see them better there. So there's one here, and one here. We've got to get those out. Oh, bits falling everywhere now. Right. Take those out with our Whitworth spanner. You can see why we had to take the gear out, you know. Actually these gears in here, we'll show you in a minute, these are quite good. This is a bit boring, I'll come back when this is off.